The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus spoke to the crowds. I tell you solemnly, of all the children born of women, a greater than John the Baptist has never been seen. Yet the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he is. Since John the Baptist came, up to this present time, the kingdom of heaven has been subjected to violence, and the violence are taking it by storm. Because it was towards John that all the prophecies of the prophets and of the law were leading. And he, if you will believe me, is the Elijah who was to return. If anyone has ears to hear, let him listen. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
When I went through this Gospel yesterday, I totally did not know what am I going to talk about. It's totally really confusing. It's talking about there's no of all the children born of women, there's no one greater than John, but he is the least in the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. And it keeps us frightened. It keeps me frightened. I mean, if John the Baptist, if the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than John, and we honor John so big, we honor John so much, and we say John is really a wonderful person, is a prophet, is the one who came to announce the kingdom of heaven, is the one who announced the coming of Jesus Christ. How comes the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he? So the question is there anyone who is going to make heaven? I mean, we have to be greater than John in order to make heaven. So can we reach that level? Anyway, before I come to answer that question, I remember 2 years ago when my niece was 10 years old, she asked, one day she called me, and it was on a Christmas day, and I was hoping that she is going to call me to wish me Happy Christmas. But all she asked was, Father Tony, what is John the Baptist Elijah? Is John the Baptist Elijah? And that took me really by surprise because I've never gone to the details of trying to ask, why is it that John the Baptist is referred to as Elijah? And then I asked her, what do you mean? And then she said that in the story of the Transfiguration, when the disciples were coming down from Mount Tabor with Jesus, then they asked, why is it that the scribes say that that Elijah has to come before the Messiah? So he said, is John the Baptist Elijah? Because Jesus answered that question and said, yes, it is true, Elijah has to come. And in fact, he has already come, but they did not recognize him. Actually, they killed him. So I was wondering, I never went to the details of that question until when I read this gospel yesterday, then when Jesus said that if you would believe me, John the Baptist is Elijah. He is the Elijah who was to come. John the Baptist was the Elijah who was to come. And then I tried to read more about this, and I realized that this was a prophecy that was made by Malachi. Malachi chapter 3 from verse 23. And in other Bibles, it's in chapter 4, verse 5. And it says that I will send Elijah ahead of the days of the Lord. And so this is the prophecy that was being fulfilled, that Jesus talks about, and that the disciples were asking, is it true that Elijah was to come? And of course, before Jesus was being born, before John the Baptist was born, and the angel Gabriel appeared to Zachariah the father, he said that the child who is to be born, that is in Luke chapter 1 from verse 17, the child who is to be born in the spirit of Elijah. to be born in the spirit of the Elijah. So it is not that John the Baptist is Elijah, but he is like Elijah. He came with the spirit, with the strength, with all with the power of Elijah, and that is to clarify just that. But most importantly, what does Jesus mean by the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than John? Remember, the words that Jesus uses here is that of all the children born of women, there is none greater than John. Of all the children born of women, it means, therefore, that according to the standards of this world, there is none greater than John. Because John was very powerful, he came to announce the coming of the Messiah. But then he goes on to say that the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. In other words, when we begin to search, when we begin to seek for the kingdom of heaven, when we begin to seek for the kingdom of God, and we are on that path, then in fact, we are greater than John. Because John, according to the standards of this world, according to children who are born of women, meaning that they are really earthly, there is none greater than John, and that is true. Because John was a powerful prophet. But for us who seek the kingdom of heaven, for those who are already in the kingdom of heaven, when we reach that final destination where we are going to, then even the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than John. Why? Because in the kingdom of heaven, it's only those who are pure who will be able to enter. Only those who are pure in heart. Only those who seek God with a sincere heart. And that is why it's so important for us, especially during this period of Advent as we prepare for Christmas, to begin to seek this way, to seek the kingdom of heaven with all our hearts, with all our strength, to be kind to our neighbors, to be able to do that which Jesus commands us to do. In fact, what Jesus is saying, that those who follow me, those who listen to my word, those who seek me with a sincere heart, all those who do not only listen, but do that which I command through my words, are already greater than John. And even if they are the least in the kingdom of heaven, they are greater than John. And remember, John was regarded as the most powerful. He was even thought of as the Messiah. But he says, no, if you do the things that I want you to do, then you are even greater than John. So, my dear brothers and sisters, as we continue to prepare for Advent, it's an invitation for us not only to seek the things that will give us happiness, temporal happiness in this world, but the things that will bring us more and more into union with God, the things that will bring us closer to God, the things that will make us to seek more the kingdom of heaven, the things that are going to keep us away from this thing, from knowing God, from seeking Him. Those are the things we must let go of. And this is what it means to prepare for the coming of Christ. That is what it means to prepare for Christmas. That we begin to purify our hearts. We begin to forgive each other. We begin to love each other. We begin to seek the things that will bring us closer to Christ. And it is in doing this that we truly will become greater than John. It is in doing these things, it is in listening to Him and not only listening but doing according to what He wants us to do, that we truly will become greater than John.